Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Zenith Captain Winsor Annual Calendar, an El Primero powered annual calendar in 42mm stainless steel. You can see and you can purchase this timepiece on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this Zenith Captain Winsor Annual Calendar. This is the best of both worlds. You get a Ludwig Oxlin designed planetary style annual calendar mechanism that adds only 9 pieces to the El Primero high beat automatic chronograph base movement. So one of the great watchmakers and horological theorists of our time building the modular complication on top of one of the most historically important and robust chronograph movements of all time. Let's talk about how it fits. Now, we first saw the first version of this watch in prototype form in 2010, and it's already discontinued, so this memorable complication had a relatively short run. 42mm across the round of its steel case, not including the crown or the lozenge style vintage-inspired chronograph pushers. The watch is reasonably slim at 14mm. Considering an automatic chronograph with a modular complication, it does slide underneath most dress cuffs. Maybe not the tightest of shirt sleeves, but certainly any sport jacket or dress jacket. From lug to lug, the watch is reasonably compact, 50mm across the wrist. It wears easily on my 16cm circumference wrist, and I would say down to 14.5cm circumference. The watch will look proportional and sit securely. Now, the case is nicely made with short cropped and tightly downturned lugs, helping to fit better on a small wrist. The strap is remarkably deluxe, thick with sheer cut size. You can see alligator leather. It's a medium brown with a monotone stitch, and on the underside an inlay of rubber to isolate the strap itself from the oils, the heat, the moisture, and the grit of the skin to increase both the comfort and the durability of the strap. You'll note the spring bars are semi-conforming, so they trace the arc of the case so that they can be drilled a little bit closer to the case, allowing the strap to pull straight down around the tight curve of a small wrist, while at the same time creating a visually more coherent look with less daylight between strap and case. The clasp is double deployant. Now, it features twin triggers, the swing arm doubling as a spring for the triggers, so very secure when closed. It also features a double deployant action, so it doesn't have the one big up and over fold that can pinch a small wrist. Great for smaller wrists, double deployant action, and you'll even see that the cradle, the chassis, is sort of shaped to contour to your wrist to make it more comfortable. Nicely finished, all of high polish. It's a deluxe appointment for this watch. The timepiece features a simple but handsome case. Polished on its flanks, it has handsome lines. It makes the most of its contrast using a satin finish atop the lug hoods, a slight transitional bevel that moves the eye from the lug hood to the case band, and there is a subtle step between the flank of the lug and the bezel. You can see there's a small stepped joint to add some more visual interest and lower the bezel within the case. The sapphire is nicely domed. It has a little bit of a camber, so it rises above the bezel and imparts a premium look. Box section and cambered sapphires being more expensive to execute, they create an upscale aesthetic when they're used on a timepiece, and that goes double when the watch features such a handsome application of two-tone. I'm not necessarily a fan of two-tone that features external gold and steel, but when you make it a coloration feature like jewelry that's exercised on the dial to give the watch character and warmth, I read that completely differently than a two-tone bracelet or a two-tone case, bezel, and crown combination. This looks luxurious and attractive. It has a charm to it. There's several colors to the dial, with the rose of the indices and the hands, the blue of the indications, for instance, for chronograph seconds and chronograph minutes, and then you have a handsome contrast between the stepped apertures of the day and the month and the framed aperture of the date anchoring the dial at 6 o'clock. Now, I mentioned that Ludwig Oxlin designed this system. You may remember him as the architect of the Trilogy of Time series for Ulysse Nardin, for their many and extraordinary celestial complications like the Moonstruck, being the godfather of the freak, the designer of the Perpetual Ludwig and the GMT plus minus Perpetual. Well, he created this system for Zenith with only 9 additional moving parts. There's a quick set that rapidly sets the date and allows you to advance the month, and then by sweeping the hour hand through the change of midnight back and forth, you index the day of the week. Now, the watch features sort of concentric circular brushed graining about its hour track, acting as a platform for the applied rose gold coated indices, and then at center there's a cross-hatching pattern that could best be described as a fine clou de Paris. Turn the watch over, and you can see the level of attention to detail. Just like the rubber underlay on the strap surprises, so too does the small kerf indentation right next to the vintage-style flat crown that allows you to more easily dig your thumbnail in, or any fingernail, to pull the crown and actuate the functions of the watch. Of course, the El Primero is a bit quirky in that the intermediate position adjusts the time, and the outermost position adjusts the date. Doesn't feature hacking, but it does feature that quick set mechanism I just showed you. You'll note the smooth sweep of the chronograph seconds hand because it features a 10 beat per second, 36,000 vibration per hour movement. That's characteristic of the El Primero. Put it against your ear, it has a double step cadence that is audibly different. Now you can see the caliber, 4054, 39 joules, 50-hour power reserve despite the high rate. It is a column wheel chronograph design, so I'll show you this. The column wheel, visible interacting with its levers and horns, is the actuating mechanism that marshals the lateral clutch of the chronograph. Let me see if I can show you both of them, the lateral clutch and the column wheel, in action. Okay, I think this should do it. You can see the column wheel crenellated in blue, and you can see the driving wheel and the intermediate wheel of the lateral clutch. You see the clutch moving out, disengaged, and in. Out and in. The El Primero is one of the most handsome automatic chronograph movements because it's so easy to see much of the works. There are many chronograph calibers with automatic rotors that are almost completely hidden. If you want to see an ugly automatic, look for a display caseback application of a Lamagna 5100 to see how dire the situation can get. This is beautiful. And you can see some of the distinctive Zenith finishing traditions like the perlage on the bridge rather than Côte de Genève and the use of two different screws. Blued screws are used for actual adjustments. So for instance, you'll see blued screws on anything that qualifies as an adjustment screw, and then the polished screws that you see are used for assembly. They're used for fixing components in place, so the watchmaker can immediately distinguish between them. All of this protected to 50 meters of water resistance. Could you swim with it on the surface? Yes, it could handle some light aquatic work on a water-resistant strap, but there are other Zenith timepieces for getting wet and wild. For every other occasion, dress and casual, this is your watch. This is the favorite watch of the group that I have shot today, and in case you're wondering what else I shot today, well, there was this, and there was this, and there was this. Which one do I like most? Price notwithstanding, this is the one that pulls at the heartstrings. See it and own it on our website.